They got a different side of me today.
Oh, I love this side. I mean, I love all sides, but I love the tough love.
This is the Good Influencer Podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Good Influencer Podcast. Hey, Becca.
How's it going over there?
It's going so good. It's going great. Summer is upon us and I'm feeling excited. It's so funny because I have a lot of plans for this summer, and yet just the idea of like not doing school pickup and drop off just feels like summer's here almost. So that's exciting.
It's like a lift. How much longer do your
Yeah.
girls have in school?
They go through mid-June, so we got a little bit.
Once you're out, like, you have no concept of when summer starts and stops for kids. I'm so out of the loop.
Oh, I know.
Well, don't be fooled by my sweatshirt. It is hot outside, but it's a little cold in the office, so I'm stretching out my sweatshirts a little bit. Okay, let's talk about Instagram's latest update. They came out with Edits, which, if you haven't heard of it, is their new kind of editing app. We really split our editing. We used to do a lot in Canva. That's kind of a heavier lift. We do some in CapCut if it has a lot of clips, but majority in Instagram.
Becca, I'm an InShot girly.
Oh, I didn't even mention InShot.
Yeah, before edits. Now, I really lean heavily on Andy, our media producer, to help me with the reels and stuff, but she knows I love to do like a quick edit. And our team is always, I like to keep them on their toes. And sometimes I just post things without running it by anyone. And I've always used InShot. I just thought it was so easy to use. And then Edits came out from Instagram, and it's really user friendly, I'll say.
Okay. More so than InShot, you think?
I'm not someone that loves change. So right now, InShot is so intuitive to me, but I think that they've made Edit simpler than what InShot is personally.
Which is great because I feel like editing on Instagram used to be so easy, and they have made it way more complicated lately.
Also, can I just say one thing? And I don't know if this is just a me thing, but I would love to hear your experience. Anytime I'm filming in Instagram, it is so light. Like before I post to stories, I look so much lighter. There's no contrast. And it's so weird because as someone with like high contrast features, I don't recognize myself when I'm filming or like when I'm uploading something. And then I'm just crossing my fingers that when I hit publish, it's going to go back to normal coloring. I've updated the app so many times. I don't understand why it's like this. I've only heard one other person talk about it, and that was Alex Cooper, Call Her Daddy. She was like, hey guys, is anyone else having this issue? And I was like, waving my arm, me, I don't know what's going on. It's like, I'll put a story up, and sometimes I can cut my story down in stories, which is great. Thank you for allowing me to do that. And then sometimes it'll be gone.
Instagram giveth and Instagram taketh, let me tell you. I'll just like randomly, like my question box will be gone one day.
I'm just like, why can I say what the date is today, but not tomorrow? I won't be able to say what the date, like, that little button, it'll be gone.
Yeah. No, one thing is for sure is that nothing is stable on Instagram. I've seen this too, like not so much the lighter filming, but once you upload something, it shows up much darker or much blurrier. Which Edits you can export in 4K, which is really nice, and you can just post straight to your feed, which hopefully will kind of solve that problem.
I'm hoping. And I do think that Instagram, when they come out with these new features, I think it is to solve some of those issues. If you use a third-party editing tool, then I don't think they're on purpose making it lower quality, but it sure seems like it. And so when they come out with their own editing tool, the perk is, oh, we're going to make this so crisp and clear. And it's like a reward.
Right. Well, I mean, we try to stay really up to date on the new things Instagram's adding, because do you think they incentivize content that uses their updates, like music on carousels or editing with edits?
100%. I think that they're always looking for best in class examples. And naturally, those are going to be people that are using the new tools that they have available to you. So edits came out and we had already had a reel. Now, this is a counterexample because we already had a reel kind of ready to go the day that edits came out. And I said, okay, let's recreate this reel using edits before we publish it since it just came out today. Now, we hit live. I don't know if it was just the time of day. It didn't do great. It didn't do terrible, but it didn't do good for us. However, that same day, one of our other reels that we had published just before that did do really well was on the inspiration page for edits. And so I have to kind of think like there was a sort of correlation, like these people are using edits, and here's a great example of content that they did. So there was a little bit of free marketing for us there. So I always encourage influencers, try it out, use it. I think there's some great incentives and perks there, but I don't necessarily think in the long term that hasn't affected the reach of our in-feed content. But I do think something like edits, especially with the 4K export, I think there's going to be some incentive to use that for sure.
I mean, hopefully. Instagram will never admit that. Never would they admit that they incentivize people to use their features. But as a business, it just makes sense. So if you try out edits, leave us a comment. What are your thoughts? How does it stack up to the other editing apps? Excited to dive in. Today, I want to talk about legitimizing the influencer industry and what that really means, because that is the whole purpose of Good Influencer, is taking this very new job and making it into its own industry and really like kind of redefining marketing in general. We touched on this like a few episodes talking about, when you're taking a vacation, don't announce that. But what do you think like when influencers talk about taking an extended break, like essentially putting their content on hold for a period of time, pausing their business? How do you think that impacts like our efforts of legitimizing the influencer industry?
I think that this is a really loaded question because there's ways to do this and have been in this industry long enough to know just like any job, you need to take breaks. And I don't have assigned time for PTO, but I know, for instance, last December as a team, we worked up to being able to take December off. We had some goals that we wanted to hit, and it was wonderful. And to me, taking December off meant I wasn't going to take any contracts in December. I wasn't going to have any deadlines. I wasn't going to do any sponsorships. I always tell anyone in this industry that feels like if they're at a breaking point, like if they feel like I cannot do this anymore, I'm like, before you quit, do you just need a break? And I think that applies to life in general. Do you just need a break or are you done with this? Because I felt many times over the last 16 years, I don't know how much longer I can do this. Burnout is real. And I don't think that this is exclusive to being an influencer. I think that people feel burnout in their day-to-day jobs. The difference is this is a self-propelled business. So if you aren't propelling it, it's not going to go anywhere. And there's a great payoff to that hustle. And I'm living proof of that. And I feel so grateful for all of the times that I pushed ahead. I just want to say, like, if you need a break, there's a lot of different ways to take a break. And it doesn't mean like telling all of your audience that I'm not going to be posting for 3 months. I actually remember this is a couple of years ago, Brene Brown. She was like, I'm taking the entire summer off and I'm letting all my team take the entire summer off. And I think for some people it was maybe inspiring, but I think for a lot of people it felt really out of touch. And I remember the comments on that. People were like, wow, I wish I could take the whole summer off. And it didn't hit as well as she thought it was going to. And did Mel Robbins come and swoop in and take her spot? Maybe. I think when people tell their audience who, can be working most likely 9 to 5 jobs, sometimes dual income households where they don't have the summers off, telling your whole audience that like, I'm taking the summer off, I fear it doesn't feel relatable, which is why I always discourage it. I'm like, you have this great opportunity and you're building this great business where you can set your own hours and, work ahead and have content ready to go live. Or maybe you choose not to do sponsorships 1 month in the summer or at the end of the year. Great. Like, keep it to yourself. That's a perk for you.
I like that idea of just taking a break from sponsorships, taking a break from deadlines instead of just definitively saying, I don't know when I'll be back. Because then you don't have any deadlines. You can get back to creating in just a really fun way. Obviously, you'll have to get back to the money part eventually because you kind of need that. But I've never thought about the out of touch part. I definitely thought about like, oh, they're probably going to lose a lot of followers. But it's not a common thing for someone to just say, I'm just not going to work for 6 months, 4 months. And so I can see how that would be a little bit of a pause for some people.
Especially if you're a new creator, if you already have like inconsistent posting habits or you're unsure about the direction that you want to go, please do not announce that you're going to take a break. I will say this, nothing is going to help you grow more as a person than pushing through difficult times. And nothing's going to help you grow more as a creator than being consistent. So a little tough love. If you're new in this, I don't want you to take a break. You don't need it. You need to push through mistakes. You need to push through a little bit of tiredness and you need to keep posting. I didn't take a month off until I did it for 16 years. And I'm not saying like that's the way to do it or that was healthy, but I do feel like it allowed me the opportunity to grow as a person and as a creator. When everyone's taking time off this summer, that's your end to go hard. There's going to be a lot of people taking time off this summer, especially creators. I've seen it a lot in the mastermind. A lot of people saying, I want to take a break this summer. Go ahead. No one can stop you. You make your own hours. You're propelling your own growth and your own engagement. So if you want to take a break, fine, don't announce it. And all those people that don't want to take a break, look at all these pockets of growth that you have now. It's a huge opportunity to grow.
You know who I was thinking about driving in? Because I was thinking about, influencers and taking a break is, maybe we'll cut this out, Amber Fillerup. She didn't announce she was taking a break, but she hasn't posted in a while.
I remember her saying in a Q&A, someone was like, are you going to do this forever? And she's like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. Now, the great thing about her is she set up multiple other businesses where I don't think influencing is her bread and butter anymore. That was always a marketing tool for her products, which is, ultimately the goal, right? I will say it's one avenue. If you have a line of products that you're promoting through your reach, then one day, hopefully those products are so big and you're not like showing up online every day. I mean, she put in her time. I'm really happy for her, actually.
It's like a influencer's retirement plan.
Yeah, I think it is. I think she's a retired influencer. I always love seeing her in my feed, though.
She could come back and be welcomed with open arms. She didn't announce she was taking a break. If she posted again, everyone would love it.
That is the other thing. Like, if you don't announce and you come back, I mean, people are going to be so happy. But if you do announce, it's just like, I think it's the relatability thing that people cannot get over.
Yeah.
Leave a little bit of mystery.
Well, and what we're really kind of talking about today is this fourth wall between influencers and their followers. That, it's like a TV program. Like, you're watching this show, you're not seeing the camera people, you're not talking about production, you're not seeing that side of things. And something I've seen from influencers who kind of break that fourth wall is in terms of affiliate, by telling their followers, I'm not going to be sharing links anymore because I don't want to contribute to consumerism. Or in terms of sponsors, can you guys go like this post because it's sponsored and I really need to get high engagement on it? What's your take on kind of breaking the fourth wall in terms of monetizing?
Okay, I haven't seen the affiliates one from influencers.
I've seen it like a
That's
few times.
That's funny. I've seen influencers say like, I'm not going to do sponsors anymore because I don't want any of my recommendations to be paid. I'm like, you're shooting yourself in the foot. because this is a huge opportunity to make great revenue for you. In Good Influencer, we're about helping you get paid, and affiliates is a great organic way to do that. I know that there's a lot of concern over contributing to consumerism. And I'll just say, in my own mind, there's a balance for sure. I don't link everything that I own, and I never ever want our audience to feel like they have to buy this. The thing that bugs me is when influencers say, like, I don't want to be an influencer anymore, or they are influencers, but they don't consider themselves influencers. And then they kind of talk bad about influencers. That's like weird
Yeah.
to me. But the whole like telling your audience to go like a sponsored post and help with engagement, I just think that's like a little bit of a pity party. And I'm like, instead, how about create sponsored content that people want to engage with or blend so seamlessly into your other content that besides the FTC requirements, you wouldn't even know that it's sponsored? That's kind of
Right.
my goal and my advice there.
It's like when we tell people don't complain about the algorithm to your audience. Don't complain about affiliates to your audience. Don't complain about sponsors to your audience. Because I mean, like you said before, it does come off a little what's that word? Not tone deaf, but just like it's not professional, I guess
Right.
is really what it comes down to.
Also, asking for engagement on a sponsored post can inflate likes and comments without corresponding to real interest or conversion. So, when you're signing a contract for a brand for a sponsorship and you're baiting people to come give you likes and comments, it might look real, but that's a facade because that's not necessarily converting into actual ROI for this brand. And that's going to make them hesitant to renew the partnership or the sponsorship. Repeat sponsorships come from real engagement, which then translates into real conversion and repeat sponsorships, which is what we're looking for. Becca and I love chatting with you every week, but in between the podcast episodes, we're hanging out in our influencer mastermind. With a Good Influencer subscription, you get access to our exclusive course library designed to help you build your business as an influencer and our mastermind forum on Facebook. This is your place to ask questions, network, and workshop. Here you can receive feedback from thousands of other influencers and our team. Listeners get 30% off their monthly subscription by using the code PODCAST at checkout. See you in the mastermind.
We have this rule in the mastermind that you're not allowed to solicit followers or solicit engagement. And not often, but occasionally people will say, hey, I have this sponsorship going live today. Can you guys go give it some love? And I have to delete it. And I feel so bad, but I'm like, look, I promise you, in the long run, you're going to thank me for this. You don't want these inflated stats that aren't authentic for the brand and that you can't replicate ever again.
I mean, in addition to us discouraging that, Instagram and TikTok both discourage engagement baiting. I mean, it's written right there. Posts that include that actually get suppressed by the algorithm. And that's kind of why we have your back. I'm more looking on the brand side. Instead of trying to beat it by like baiting your audience to come give you a false sense of engagement on a sponsorship, instead work with a brand that's sponsoring you to say what you think your audience is going to engage with. That is what you really should be focusing your efforts on. And this is a secret that I'm going to spill right now. If you know that your highest engaged stories are actually going to be a still with a long text on it, because guess what? Everyone's going to hold down that picture to read the text. That story slide is going to be viewed way more than a talking story. And guess what? Every sponsorship wants talking stories. You're going to go back to the sponsor and you're going to say, hey, this is what is working for engagement for us. If I instead swap out a talking story, say you're doing a 3 or 4 story slide, and you're like, if I can instead put a still in the middle here with some text on it, I think it's going to perform so much better and my story views are going to go up. because it's showing Instagram that the audience is taking more time on this particular story slide. Work with your sponsor on that instead of trying to beat the system. If brands are hiring you to create quality, engaging content that's going to convert for them, tell them exactly what quality, engaging content converts for you organically. They'll be so much more interested in that than a bunch of fake likes because you did exactly what the brief said instead of pushing back and saying, like, as the creator, this is what I think is going to hit. We do it all the time.
Okay, really quick before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said about, new influencers and you have to just kind of put your head down and work and not take a break. I remember you had a friend who kind of came to you. She had a viral reel. She started to grow very quickly. All of a sudden, her DMs were flooded. She had brands reaching out to her. It was like she was thrown in, like she went from posting more casually to, okay, now I'm running this as a business. What advice do you have for those influencers who are now taking on that much higher workload kind of all of a sudden?
I would say, even if your growth was like, boom, you're still yourself. You do not have to adjust to this. However, this is life giving you an opportunity. I would say keep at a pace that's comfortable. The internet never sleeps. That was a lesson that I had to learn a long time ago. I could be up finding the best sales, the best products, reworking my whole shop, posting on LTK, planning everything out 24/7 because the internet never sleeps. However, you get to set the pace for what your audience expects from you. Do not burn yourself out over an opportunity. Instead, level up just a little bit and say, like, I'm going to seize this opportunity. And tomorrow I'm going to do the same thing I did today. You can set yourself hours. Give yourself a business structure. This is like life handing you this opportunity. And instead of being so overwhelmed and starting to do everything and burning yourself out so fast, set yourself business hours and start taking it seriously. The first hire I ever made was someone to help me around the house because I had 2 little girls at the time and I needed to set myself business hours so that I could focus on this opportunity so that I can make something of myself. And so that is another way of looking at your business, making it a business and treating it like a business. And that includes setting yourself reasonable hours and being consistent. When I'm feeling down or like I'm having an off day, I go to the people that are in my real life and I'm like, I'm having an off day today. And I don't bring that energy online with me because I know that my audience is looking for something else. And that's just not a part of my brand. I know I'm like super fortunate. And I never want someone to see me and think like she has everything and she's miserable because I'm not. I just have down days like everyone else. And make sure you have people in your real life that you can bounce that off of and that they can lift you up, maybe put on a song and like get to work. Like you can do this. I promise. I guess I just see a lot of like soft love out there. If you need a break, take a break. But if you want to be an influencer and you want to be successful, that requires work. The best thing I can say to legitimize this industry is it's a job just like any other job. You got to clock in. Lock in, clock in. We got this.
Amen. So now is the time to make your strategy for summer. What are you going to do this summer? Like Julia said, a lot of people take a step back. So this is your chance to get ahead, start pitching to some sponsors. Now is the time you should be pitching to sponsors for summer campaigns, starting to book those now. So make your summer strategy. How are you going to maximize posting, maximize engagement, maximize growth and monetization this summer? Let us know in the comments and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Until next time, follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Good Influencer. And if you're ready to join a whole community of influencers growing organically and getting paid to do what they love, join the Good Influencer Mastermind by visiting our website, good-influencer.com. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.